Very good morning to you. Welcome to Mornings with Ken Rosato. Today is Monday, January 12th, 2026. 2026 is flying right by. What happened? Like the first 11 days went, phew. We'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. 888-658-0234. For those of you in Loma Linda, California, that's 888-658-0234. For those who don't realize, it's kind of a sleepy community. To kick things off, meteorologist Mike Favetta has the forecast near you.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
I know I'm going to get a letter from that one elderly woman in Loma Linda saying, "How dare you?" Good morning, Mike.
A letter by mail? By mail? No.
It's going to be handwritten in crayon.
Maybe a nice text. I'm sure.
They're going to cut out a magazine, all the little letters, and stick them on.
You've got great. You could do that outside today, out in Southern California. Because we've got amazing weather to do so. Some of those letters might be blowing around though as you cut them out because the winds are a little high. But we'll talk about that part of the forecast in just a bit. We want to get started out east with the chill, the cold weather that's around for the first part of this morning. Notice the quiet weather across most of the country. It's a beautiful start to the day. Clear sky in New Jersey, but the chill has returned. You heard those gusty winds last night, reaching upwards of 40 miles per hour. Very, very chilly. But now there's quiet weather down for most of California. You have to look to the Pacific Northwest for another round of unsettled weather with the disturbances moving through, providing some cooler rains there. Speaking of cold, chilly weather returns to the southeast. It will feel quite cool, not just for parts of, say, Georgia down to the Carolinas, but even heading into the northeast later today and this week. It's slightly cooler than average, but there's above average temperatures up in the northwest. So a little bit of a temperature variance today, depending on your location. And even for the next few days, that warm weather spreads out into the upper Midwest. So it's this big heat that takes over for places there. However, most of the West Coast nice and dry today. As far as the East Coast, we stay clear for the next several days. And we get a chance to dry out, Ken, before a chance of some snow and rain may come at us later on this week. We'll detail that coming up with another check of your forecast in just a few minutes.
All right, Mike, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. Let's take a look at the traffic East Coast and West Coast. For those just joining us who don't realize, we're on two channels. We're on New Jersey, in New Jersey, New York area, and also we are on LACA. It's ONLACA for Southern California. So we will do a little New Jersey traffic. It's early in the morning there in LA right now. It's 4:03 a.m., 7:03 on the East Coast. We start with New Jersey traffic. We have a disabled vehicle on the Turnpike Western Spur, northbound north of interchange 15E, 1 and 9 in Newark with the right lane blocked. Tractor trailer fire, US 1 northbound south of US 1 in North Brunswick, 3 right lanes of 4 lanes closed. We also have a, excuse me, pardon me, still getting over laryngitis. Crash on the Turnpike in a roadway southbound north of interchange 8, Route 33 in Cranberry, 1 right lane blocked there. Over to Los Angeles right now. In fact, of course, now the LA is giving us issues. All right, so we'll do LA in the next report. Just to let you know about the Hudson River crossings right now in the New York area. The Holland Tunnel right now is telling us, they're telling us about a 15-minute crossover time. It's 20 to 25 of the Lincoln. We look at the GWB upper and lower levels, 80, 95, approach bumper to bumper. As you can see, upper level on the right is a little better than the lower level. Either way, it's going to cost you about 45 minutes getting into Manhattan. It is 4 minutes past the hour. Former New Jersey Governor Richard Codey has died. His family says the state's longest-serving lawmaker was 79 when he passed early yesterday after a brief illness. Codey was a Democrat and became acting governor when Governor Jim McGreevey stepped down November of 2004. He served out the last 2 years of McGreevey's term before returning to the state Senate. Codey lived in Roseland for many years up until the end. His family will announce funeral plans in the days ahead. He was one of those universally loved people in the state for both Republicans and Democrats. People did love the man. He was sort of like the Tip O'Neill was to Reagan. That's what he was here. Very, very kind man. It is 5 minutes past the hour as protesters continue threatening to overthrow the government. Iran's president announced that his government would address the economic problems facing the people, urging Iranians to refrain from any, quote, destructive actions. The interview came as deadly clashes were reported in recent days between Iranian police and protesters amid the country's longstanding economic hardships. Meanwhile, could the U.S. be ready to invade? Check out this video. I think, Pam, you have the next clip here. Thank you. Yep. Go back if we could. Yep, it's showing ships, airships, lining up and down the western coast of Iran. Those ships appear to be their tankers and military ships. So we don't know what that's supposed to imply, but we will find out, I'm sure, in the days ahead. Meanwhile, the LAPD responded yesterday after somebody drove a U-Haul box truck down a street crowded with marchers demonstrating in support of the Iranian people, causing protesters to scramble out of the way, then run after the speeding truck to try to attack the drivers. You could see amazing video here. The U-Haul was stopped blocks away and surrounded by police. Officers struggled to keep back the crowd as demonstrators swarmed that truck, punching at the driver and shoving flagpoles through the driver's side window. A crackdown on nationwide protests in Iran has killed more than 530 people. The federal government has sued 2 California cities for banning natural gas appliances in new construction for environmental reasons. Petaluma and Morgan Hill officials want gas appliances banned to save the environment. Natural gas is considered the cleanest of all fossil fuels and is sustainable because it's produced by decaying bacteria that's such as found in landfills. As long as we have garbage, we could have natural gas. Yet, in spite of California's widely known shortages of electricity, these communities want to force their citizens to make matters worse by drawing more juice from the already overburdened California electric grid. Pretty amazing. Meanwhile, while in California here, California is now officially drought-free for the first time in 25 years. All we've heard about was that there was a drought in California. No drinking water, couldn't have gardens, couldn't have lawns. The U.S. Drought Monitor reports no part of the Golden State is experiencing excessive dryness now. That is following a series of powerful storms late last year that boosted water levels and filled reservoirs. You remember we had flooding in much of California, from Sacramento all the way down to Los Angeles. We had half a foot of rain in some cases, or a foot of rain, 2 feet of standing water. It was amazing. Experts say this exceptionally wet period marks a strong start to the 2026 water year, but they warn residents, don't take it for granted. Don't assume we will always have that amount of water in California, because the water issues are certainly not gone for good. Water resource managers stress that demand continues to strain supplies. But here's the deal. The water issues in California are entirely man-made. What am I saying? Okay. California has had periods of drought for centuries. Okay, it's mostly a desert, especially southwestern California. It's dry, right? There's a song that goes back 75 years. It never rains in California, for those old enough to know. All right, so there's a song about it. And the whole point is that it's a dry place. California is desert-like. So California's water is not there right now for combination of the addition of 1 to 2 million illegal migrants who are not accounted for officially, who strain the water and electric utilities beyond their limits. Add to that the state diversion of rivers and reservoirs to protect what they deem to be endangered species of plants and animals, and a lack of desire to create a regional water system, and you have the problems you have. Why is it that this problem doesn't exist in any other state in the nation, even in states that are deserts, states like Arizona and New Mexico right next door? Yeah, they're told to cut back on watering plants and stuff, but they have plenty of drinking water and they have lots of people. In fact, Arizona is one of the fastest growing states in the nation, and yet they still have plenty of water. This is purely a California problem of the state's own making that can be fixed tomorrow, but because they have far left lunatics running the state. Yeah, you heard me, Gavin Newscomb. Far left lunatics running the state. Because of that, this problem will never get solved. When you put a rare species of weed, I don't mean this kind of weed, I mean tumbleweed, ahead of the needs of humanity, you'll never fix the problem, because you deem that in survival of the fittest, people fall behind weeds. And as long as you think that, there will never be a solution to your problem, California. Sorry. 10 minutes past the hour, police have arrested a man after he allegedly uploaded child sexual abuse files to his Snapchat account. The Hudson County Prosecutor's Office says 28-year-old Anthony Santiago Bayonne was charged with endangering the welfare of a child. Santiago's in custody at the Hudson County Correctional Facility pending his detention hearing for the July 2024 incident. It's 11 minutes, pardon me, folks, again, laryngitis. 11 minutes past the hour. President Trump calling for a 10% cap on credit card interest rates for a year. It's an idea that has drawn strong support from lawmakers, but predictable pushback from card issuers. The president wrote on Truth Social, quote, "Please be informed we will no longer let the American public be ripped off by credit card companies that are charging interest rates of up to 30% or more, which festered unimpeded during the sleepy Joe Biden administration." Trump said the cap on interest rates should begin next week on January 20th, the one-year anniversary of his second inauguration. At this point, the president appears to be hoping his pressure will be enough to force the credit card companies to lower rates on their own, but there's always the possibility he could issue some sort of executive order if they choose to ignore him. Americans owed a total of $1.23 trillion in credit card balances in the third quarter of last year, the highest level on record. The average U.S. household owes credit card debts of over $10,000. But think about it. If you lower interest rates from, say, 20% to 10%, and you have $1,000 in credit card debt, let's just say, that would be $100 a month difference in your payback. That is a lot of money for a lot of people. So it's something that the president is serious about. And if I'm a credit card company, I would listen. Meanwhile, a 49-year-old D.C. man has been sentenced to a year and a day in prison. Police say the convicted murderer, Dwayne Taylor, walked into a government building carrying a loaded revolver. As a convicted felon, he can't legally carry a gun. And government buildings in D.C. are designated gun-free zones. Taylor pleaded guilty to the crime last September and must serve 3 years of unsupervised release. And a woman from St. Louis admitted she scammed the government out of $177,000 by falsely claiming tax credits for retaining employees during the COVID pandemic. 34-year-old Ayanna Brown pleaded guilty in U.S. District Court last week. She took the cash from the government, but no employees received it. Brown is scheduled to be sentenced May 6th and could get up to 20 years in prison and as much as $500,000 in fines. It is now 13 minutes past the hour. When we return, are you around 40 and noticing your eyesight is bothering you? Hello. We'll talk with an ophthalmologist about you needing your eye doctor's visit. We're coming right back.
Play it like the New York Sirens. Live in the spotlight. Etch your name in lights. Embrace the noise. And when it calls you, turn it up. Get louder. Play it like they'll hear us everywhere. Because this is our team. New York Sirens. Play it big.
Welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato for your Monday, live in New Jersey and New York. And now welcome to you in Los Angeles at 15 minutes past the hour. Taking calls at 888-658-0234. 888-658-0234. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the forecast near you.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
It is a nice, what is the temperature? 50 degrees in Los Angeles right now. And it is 28 degrees in Trenton.
Yes,
Okay, we
it
call
was
it Trenton.
chilly. But the wind,
Quite a
Ken,
little
the
disparity.
wind across New Jersey last night. My, oh my. And it always has to happen the night where the recycle goes out, so the cardboard is strewn across the lawn the next morning. Right?
My neighbors have all of their garbage, or they have a garbage bin in the middle of the street. I saw when I put out the garbage right before the show. Fortunately, because I was out of town, my bins are loaded to the rafters, so they're not going anywhere. But yeah, I
Okay.
kind of figured that was due to the wind.
Yes, yes. And here we are, Ken. And it's, of course, a frigid morning with any of the leftover water from over the weekend. You have now frozen into patches of ice. That's the case, but at least the sun will warm us up today. Lots of clear sky across New Jersey, lasting through the afternoon. So it'll be a very bright and beautiful beginning to this week, with the wind causing some issues later today at the area airports. Right now, minor delays, green on the screen. So that's some good news all across the Northeast. You see right down even through Atlantic City, the Philly airports, through Trenton, and back over through the DC area. Okay right now. Over the next few days, the temperature trend points to a little bit more of that moderation in temperatures moving throughout the East Coast. We have this beautiful high pressure over the West Coast, and that will allow for a wind off of the mountains. That's the Santa Ana winds for those down in Southern California, and that takes over the next few days. But beyond that, it's a quiet trend this week with not much in terms of big time heat shaping up unless you're in the Midwest. And again, all of that moisture moves its way eastward over the next several days. Then we have the quiet jet stream across the East Coast. We call this zonal flow. It's just a fancy word of the jet stream moving from west to east. Things are nice and quiet there. But out west, you have this big bump in the jet stream. And that is what's allowing for the quiet weather to stay in place over portions of the West Coast, Southern California, even right up toward northern portions of the state. And then there's this system in the middle of the country that's moving through the Great Lakes that will allow for some wet weather to take over, maybe even a little bit of that snow there, because it is wintertime after all. And speaking of, some of the longer range forecasts point to very chilly weather arriving in the Northeast in about 1 week's time. We're talking temperatures starting in the single digits and teens, ultimately climbing only into the 20s by the afternoon. And that doesn't even include the wind chill. So some very cold weather on the way in about a week's time. We will look at that extended forecast coming up and give you those details with another check of your forecast and the Futurecast, those forecast maps, in just a few minutes, Ken.
I love this whole futurecast thing. It's like Mike Favetta, for those who don't realize, he has this giant crystal ball and he could see everything. Yes. Now, what I need from you, Mr. Favetta, is a forecast of the lottery numbers. If you could work on that while we're doing the news, I would greatly appreciate that. And there'll be a little something extra in the paycheck. Of course, I don't have any control of that, but you know what I mean. All right, Mike. Sure, the bosses will appreciate me granting money that I don't have and can't give. All right, Mike. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it, buddy. It is 19. I keep doing the west east coast thing. I'm forgetting we are on two coasts now. 719 on the east coast. It is 419 on the west coast right now. Temperature in Trenton, New Jersey is 28 degrees, and in Los Angeles is a balmy 50. Hey, I know for LA that's a little chilly. I will take 50. Over 28 any day of the week, LA. So if you want to swap temperatures, just let me know. We also want to remind you in terms of traffic, we have a disabled vehicle. Let's go to Pam, our director's favorite camera, because it shows the billboard for the Lion King on the left. See that purple there? That'll light up as the Lion King in a second. But this is the approach. Look at this. Both directions. 495. We have a disabled vehicle, 495. This is the Helix. Eastbound east of Kennedy Boulevard, Union City. The left lane is blocked. That's causing the mess you see on your screen. The taillight direction is what we're talking about. So those folks, you see them all kind of jamming as they merge together because the left lane just as they approach the horizon there, the left lane is blocked, and that's causing that problem. We also have a disabled vehicle on the Jersey Turnpike Western Spur northbound, north of interchange 15E, 1 and 9 in Newark. Right lane is blocked. And delays on 202 southbound US 46 Parsippany Troy Hills, all lanes open. We look at the Hudson River crossings in the New York area here right now. The Lincoln and Holland are both reporting 20 minutes in spite of the fact that you had that little delay right there. You can see it's still moving. It hasn't really impacted the tunnel itself. GWB is a mess, upper and lower levels, upper on the right, lower on the left. And you can see that they are very slow. It's going to cost you about 40 minutes into Manhattan. 21 minutes past the hour. If you are over 40, your eyesight may be changing, even if you haven't noticed it yet. Joining us this morning is a board-certified ophthalmologist to answer the 4 most important questions to ask your eye doctor in 2026. Let us welcome Dr. Ashley Brissett. Good morning to you, Dr. Brissett.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Nice to have you on. Full disclosure, my niece is an optometrist, not an ophthalmologist. And for those who don't understand the difference, an ophthalmologist is a full medical doctor who specializes in the eyes. An optometrist is not a medical doctor, but it's a doctor of the eyes nonetheless, right? Did I clarify?
Yeah, that's a good clarification. Exactly. We do medicine and surgery for the eyes as an
There you go.
ophthalmologist.
There you go. So, but I do see my niece, and she's been looking at my eyes saying, "Ugh, you're a mess, Uncle Ken." So I may be headed your way soon. How important is it, doctor, for everybody 40 or older to start getting their eyes checked? Because like clockwork, that's when mine started to go.
Yeah, it's completely natural. You know, aging eyes generally start around age 40. I always say to my patients, as we're growing up, our eyes just naturally decline. You know, we're all headed in that direction. One of the earliest changes is what we refer to as presbyopia, which is that difficulty seeing up close. And then eventually what happens is cataracts start to develop. But this is a completely normal change for the eyes. Everybody through their lifetime will develop cataracts.
Interesting. And that's just what the ultraviolet lights work on it's basically it's like a callus, right? That's what happens to your lens. It just thickens.
Exactly. It's like a natural cloudiness of the lens, which is inside the eye, and it just naturally gets cloudy as we grow older. But what's really great to know is that you don't have to suffer with poor vision. Even as you go into your 40s and 50s and 60s and older, we have modern day options which can help people see better. So, you know, for somebody in their 40s, it might be something like modern contact lenses. And the AccuView lenses are a great option because they can help you see clearly at multiple distances, can also help to protect from digital strain. And then eventually, as you do get older, and cataracts develop, you can opt to have a cataract surgery. And choosing a more premium technology intraocular lens that's put inside the eye once your cataract is removed can give you that freedom and that flexibility in your vision.
I was always curious about this, doctor, because Dr. Brissett, the intraocular lens, I know that the natural lens, the one that God gave us, it flexes and gets thicker and thinner, and that's how it focuses, right? And moves back and forth with the muscles. The intraocular lens, do you attach it to the muscles, and does it do the same thing as the natural lens?
So it works in a slightly different way. So once your natural lens is removed, which your natural lens becomes a cataract as you grow older.
Right.
We put that specialized intraocular lens in the eye. And these modern day lenses, like from the Technis platform, these are great lenses because they have built into them the ability for you to see clearly far away, at your computer, and up close, all in one. And there's so many different options for your vision with this modern technology. These premium lenses have really changed what we're able to offer patients, because not only once your cataracts are gone that you'll be able to see better, but you might even be able to see better than you ever have in your lifetime.
Well, that is absolutely like mind-blowing, fascinating stuff. I'm so fascinated by it. Like, you get interested in this obviously when it starts impacting you. So before I was 40, it was boring stuff, and of course, once I started buying like readers and having them at every place around my work, my home, my bed, when that starts, is that an indicator at that point that, hey, just go see an eye doctor and get prescription lenses?
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the most common complaints that I hear from my patients. Like, you don't have to suffer with the readers. You don't have to have them all over the house in every single bag and struggling to kind of get through being able to see day to day. That's why I love some of these contact lenses or possibly this option for cataract surgery, because it just gives you so much more flexibility and you don't have to suffer with poor vision in that sense.
Amen. Dr. Brissett, what are the 4 questions that patients should be asking their eye doctors in 2026?
Well, firstly, make sure that you're getting a comprehensive eye exam every single year with your ophthalmologist or your optometrist. It's really important because aging eyes, again, naturally, there's so many things that can come up as we grow older, and a lot of things are preventative. And so getting your annual screening exam is extremely important to make sure that you stay healthy. You also want to talk to your doctor about options. You can speak to them. What can I do beyond reading glasses? Am I a candidate for these special contact lenses? Am I more so a candidate for a cataract surgery? So you have options, and then really asking your doctor if you're ready for cataract surgery. What premium intraocular lens are you a great candidate for? Because again, there's a family of lenses. The Technis family are great options, and it's really important to choose a customized approach for your vision. We are in this age of modern day cataract surgery and being able to offer a customized plan for each patient. And so speaking with your doctor about what's going to be right specifically for you and your lifestyle, I think is really important.
That's fascinating. And cataracts, I know people think about it. Oh, it's something for old people, but cataracts is, as you're saying, it's normal. So don't freak out if you have cataracts, right? It's part of growing old, and everyone will at some point develop. If you live to be 120, you're going to have cataracts, right?
Absolutely. And we really encourage people to actually consider having surgery sooner than later. Modern day surgery is very advanced, quick recovery, a very straightforward procedure. And we have so many great studies that show that you can decrease your risk of fall as you grow older. You can decrease your risk of developing dementia if you have cataract surgery sooner than later. So again, our old thinking was you have to wait for the cataracts to be ripe or mature before undergoing a surgery. But that's no longer the thinking. Honestly, the sooner you do it, the better.
And what is a website, doctor, for more information so they can reach out to your practice?
Lots of great options online. I usually direct my patients to clearvisionforyou.com and acuview.com, and there's tons of great resources available there.
You're awesome, Dr. Ophthalmologist, Dr. Ashley Brissett. Thank you for coming on this morning. Great education, and we'd love to have you on again. Have a great day.
Thank you.
You bet. It is 28 minutes past the hour. How can you tell the difference between just wanting an occasional drink and having a problem? We're going to talk with a mental health expert who could tell you what you need to know. The phone lines are open. We'll take your calls at 888-658-0234, East and West Coast, 888-658-0234. Meteorologist Mike Favetta will be back too with the forecast near you. You're watching Mornings with Ken Rosato, and we'll be back in 2 minutes.
Play it like the New York Sirens. Live in the spotlight. Etch your name in lights. Embrace the noise. And when it calls you, turn it up. Get louder. Play it like they'll hear us everywhere. Because this is our team. New York Sirens. Play it big.
morning. It is 30 minutes past the hour, Monday, January 12th, 2026. Welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato, live on the East Coast and live on the West Coast. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the forecast near you.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
All right, Mike. So it is 50 degrees in LA and not 50 degrees in Trenton.
No, it is not. There is a chill in the air across the East Coast, and you heard it with the wind rushing through the trees last night. A very breezy start to this morning, so the wind chill is certainly in play. But that cold weather wanes by the end of the week, and we turn a little bit milder, but still cold enough to possibly allow it to snow. We'll talk more about that coming up at the top of the hour when we focus on just New Jersey's forecast. Out west, it is quiet, it is clear. For most of the southwest, it's the Pacific Northwest that has a little bit of rain this morning, along with some wind and gusty conditions. Our forecast, a little breezy this morning for New Jersey. It stays rather dry over the next several days. But like I mentioned, in the Pacific Northwest, there are these rain chances that increase with this next round of moisture that comes in. It's another system that provides another round of wet weather that works its way across the country throughout this week. But it stays warm specifically for you in Southern California. As that system moves into the Pacific Northwest, look at this nice dry weather as the jet stream does this little bow and allows for pleasantly clear air and warm conditions to stay in the southwest. Our forecast for New Jersey keeps most of that snow off to the north, at least today into tomorrow, and it's quiet for most of the country and through the Midwest. Just a little bit of a blip on the radar. That is our next Alberta clipper that stays primarily over the Great Lakes, impacting just places there over Michigan and the Upper Peninsula. Again, the forecast for most of the country pretty quiet this week, not anticipating any big storms to move through, so we'll keep that. Even with the future cast looking quiet, it's all thanks to the big high pressure staying in control and allowing for that nice quiet weather to take over as it slides eastward. Here in New Jersey, looking great. Out west, great too. It's just a series of quiet weather patterns that take over throughout the country. Just a little potential for some rain down in Texas. But beyond that, we're quiet even through the end of this week. It's Thursday. We'll be watching to see where the system decides to go over the Midwest. May enter portions of the Northeast and give us some extra clouds and perhaps a little sprinkle by then. But beyond that, we're pretty quiet. We'll talk more about the longer range futurecast and what to expect coming up for this weekend, Ken, in our next weather update.
All right. All right, so thank you very much. And checking out traffic for the East Coast right now in the New Jersey area. Let's take a look at the, we just had actually this clear up. We'll look at the residual delays on 495, taking you into the Helix, going toward the Lincoln Tunnel. You could bring that up, Pam, literally a minute ago. You can see now it's moving. There was an accident in the left lane that just got cleared. So when we showed you this 15 minutes ago, it was bumper to bumper, making your way into the Helix. And now it's moving nicely. That's good news. So it's only going to cost you about 20 minutes in via the Lincoln Tunnel, 20 minutes also via the Holland Tunnel. But if you want to see some traffic, we go to the GWB. Upper and lower levels 80-95 approach, and it is very heavy. Not as heavy as it was a little while ago. Pardon me, there's a little motion now, but it's still going to cost you 40 to 45 minutes, mostly because of truck volume at this early hour. You can see upper level on the right, lower on the left. And in California right now, we have issues on US 1 by Palos Verdes Estates, and also on the 110, making your way by South Main Street in Lomita. 34 minutes past the hour as we settle into the new year. Many people have made resolutions focused on better health, both physically and mentally. For some, that includes participating in the so-called dry January, taking a break from alcohol for the month altogether. Joining us this morning to talk about that and more is Dr. Tara Shalakani, CEO of Preferred Behavioral Health Group. Our good friend, Dr. Shalakani, good morning to you.
Good morning, Ken, and Happy New Year. Happy Dry January.
Happy New Year. Happy Dry January. I don't drink at all, so it's been like 10 years since I've had any kind of a drink. So Dry January for me is like, but I'm glad that for me, I laugh and have a mocktail. But I know, I mean, I used to be the 2 to 3 martini drinker. And I was always, that's before I developed atrial fibrillation. I had to stop altogether, but it's the best thing that ever happened. So I have seen way too many people, especially post-pandemic, who every time I talk to them, they sound like they've had one too many. So Dry January hopefully could be a big reset for a lot of people, right? So who could benefit most from it?
It is, Ken. Everyone can benefit. And it's important to know that dry January has gotten very popular over the years. Last year, only 13% of America was reported to participate. And this year, 30% of all Americans are participating. So that's good news, especially since about 25% of that group actually makes it through the entire month and continues to drink less for up to 6 months. So we can all benefit. And if we look at the big picture, we're saving money, we're reducing risk of drinking and driving or spending money on Uber. So that's kind of the global benefit, but the health benefits are absolutely tremendous. Not only, like you said, with atrial fibrillation, it improves cardiovascular health by reducing your blood pressure, it reduces blood sugar, we have better concentration, better focus. Weight loss is a big piece, and a lot of New Year's resolutions do revolve around diet and health. So there is a weight loss benefit because you're not consuming empty calories. And it's just all around feel good, being detox, having a clear mind, clear body. Everyone can benefit from that.
Yeah, Doc, when I stopped drinking 10 years ago, I lost 30 pounds within 6 months doing nothing but just cutting alcohol out of my day-to-day life. And everything, blood pressure came down, cholesterol came down, best shape of my life, sleep improved, everything was just so much, even skin got
Yes,
better. So it's amazing what it gets because you dehydrate with alcohol and
for
caffeine, right? Horrible
that is
dehydrator.
another benefit. Your skin will glow because you're not, taking away, like you said, from dehydration. And it also reduces inflammation. So there's a
Mm.
lot of talk about inflammation as it relates to chronic disease or things like dementia. So we're reducing inflammation overall in the body as well. So tremendous health benefits.
Amen to that. Doctor, why do so many resolutions in general tend to fail?
Well, I think it's too much too soon, Ken. Anything lasting works at a gradual base and pace. So if you do something all in, guns a-blazing from the start, it's not likely to last. Gradual change is lasting change. And I think that people have lofty goals and good intentions, but it's just too much of a lifestyle change. So I think that if we take little bites at a time, like we're eating a meal, and eventually we get to the end. New Year's resolutions are the same way. Let's start small. The other thing is we can't get too disillusioned. So if you have a bad day, get back to it the next day. All hope is not lost. And I think too many people get discouraged and they give up completely. But again, we don't achieve our goals if we get distracted and disappointed in ourselves. We have to stick with it.
There was a study, I believe it was out of Australia, that we had on last week that showed that people who wait until a Monday to start their New Year's resolution, as opposed to starting it on New Year's Day, they have
Mhm.
like a 30% greater ability to achieve it and hold on as opposed to those who start on New Year's Day. Whether it's because you're just stressed and tired from the holidays and cranky or whatever, having to get back to work or whatever. But apparently we're set, like our brains are set that Monday is the beginning and the fresh start. So that if you wait until a Monday, like the first Monday after New Year's Day, and start your New Year's resolution, then you have a much better chance at achieving. Is that just the way our psyches are programmed?
Well, we're conditioned. I mean, our work week starts on a Monday. There's a lot of mental preparation for a Monday. We know the weekends are a time of rest, a time of fun, and Monday is back to business. And even in the world of business, we all know everything is on pause after the holidays, and we kind of table things until that first Monday after the new year. So I think we're just mentally conditioned. But my advice to anybody who feels discouraged and wants to give up on their New Year's resolution, every day is a new day. We can start today, we can start tomorrow. We just have to start.
And Doc, for somebody who tries, say they try dry January and they say, you know what, I can't do this. It's harder than they expected. Could that be signaling something more? And in that case, what should they do next?
That's a great point, Ken. And if anyone out there is questioning if they might have an issue with alcohol, chances are there's something to be investigated there. If you're questioning it, there's something within yourself that is recognizing that there's an issue. And if dry January is difficult, you can't do it, you feel like you can't live your life without alcohol, it's time to make a phone call. And if you're not connected to a mental health provider, you can start with your primary care physician or find a therapist. I know you're a fan. I'm a fan, obviously. Everyone can benefit from therapy. And a therapist can assess and determine if there's an issue and point you in the right direction.
Yeah, and I know for me, a good place to start was just talking to my general practitioner who pointed me right in the direction of somebody if you're not sure, or everybody has a close, intimate friend they can talk to who can say, yeah, I see this person, whatever. They're great there. This is what they do. For people who think that it's a weak thing, you don't understand therapy. You talk to your friend all the time, right? Is that weak? No, right? So a therapist is someone who can listen and who is a professionally trained person who can spot the trends and what may or may not be a bigger problem. I just never understood why people look at psychological therapy as something that is verboten and embarrassing, whereas getting treated for the flu is fine. I never understood that.
Right. Well, it's conversations like these, Ken, that really move the needle and change people's mindset that it's a necessity. It's something that enhances our life and makes us healthier all around. And there's no reason to not do it.
Amen to that. Doctor, what is one small achievable habit that people can start this week that could make a meaningful mental health difference if they just start small?
I would say try to get to bed maybe an hour earlier because sleep is really so crucial. And I know we hear it a lot, but if you think about it in regards to how we charge our phones, right? We plug them in before we go to sleep at night. We need to recharge. We need to reset. We need to get to a place of equilibrium. So sleep is really important. So that's what I would say. Give yourself an extra hour, put the devices away, let your brains just kind of drift into a nice sleep without a lot of stimulation and looking at, memes or death trolling, whatever it is people are doing, but get to bed early because sleep is
Amen.
really a barometer for health.
I hear you, Doctor. Dr. Tara Shalakani, always great to have you on, CEO of Preferred Behavioral Health Group. Thanks for coming on this morning.
My pleasure.
And we are coming right back. Mornings with Ken Rosato. Don't go away.
Play it like the New York Sirens. Live in the spotlight. Etch your name in lights. Embrace the noise. And when it calls you, turn it up. Get louder. Play it like they'll hear us everywhere. Because this is our team. New York Sirens. play it big.
Welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato at 45 minutes past the hour. Taking calls at 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the forecast for your area.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
Well, Mike, it must be right before dawn because I see the temperature in Los Angeles has dropped to 49 degrees, but we have soared to a balmy 28 in
Oh,
Trenton.
look at that. That's right. Get out the beach chairs and umbrellas. We're hitting the sand today, Ken. There's a little bit of a warm up on the way that will get us likely back to just above the freezing mark. And the point is, throughout this week, it will stay slightly milder than average until temperatures come crashing down this weekend in response to a big dip in the jet stream. You can kind of see it here drawn in the clouds, allowing for some snow to the north and west by this weekend into next week. Is it something to be concerned about just yet? No, because we're still 5-6 days away from that system. But look at how pronounced it is here on the Futurecast, showing all of that cold air rushing down from Canada, and it stays in place for most of next week with a reinforcing shot of cold air that comes down into next week. Out to southwestern California, where we stay quiet today, and with all of these southern breezes coming in throughout the next few days, plan on that dry weather to remain over the next several afternoons, especially with the clear sky there. So the Futurecast out west has this double barrel high pressure, simply meaning it is your quintessential Southern California forecast over the next several days. Not a cloud in the sky, maybe a little bit of a breeze with those winds picking up in the Santa Ana direction, coming over the mountains, going out to sea. So you'll have a very dry period over the next several days, but lovely weather to behold right through this week with a nice quiet forecast ahead. Out east, a different story. There will be some clouds returning throughout each afternoon, and with it, a gusty breeze, which brings back a little bit of a chill, specifically by the time we get to the middle of the week. Might even have a few sprinkles there on Wednesday into Thursday as our next weather system rolls on in. With that, there could be another round of clouds and showers into Thursday morning, clearing by the afternoon, and then we get a little bit of a break on Friday. But into the next several weeks, like going into next week, it is bone-chilling cold across the Northeast. With that temperature that stays well below average out east, it's actually warmer than average out west, and it stays that way going into the end of January. The dry weather continues out west, likely see that dry weather persist even across much of the East Coast, whereas, yes, there's still a drought going in across New Jersey, but like Ken mentioned before, no drought whatsoever for the entire state of California. So a little bit of a nicer trend there, more pleasant and palatable trend out west, Ken.
All right, sir. Appreciate that. We always like pleasant and palatable. Let's do the morning show from the on LACA studios. I think we need to do that. We need to just sample the new facility to make sure, right? Do I look LA today? I was in South Florida for a few days. I got a glow, so I feel very California. But we'll talk like this. We'll talk New Jersey and California, see if it works. All right.
We'll
Thank
see.
you very much, Mike. See if I can get by. Though I won't stick out like a sore thumb, not at all. All right, my friend, appreciate you. It is now 48 minutes past the hour. We take a look at traffic. Let us go first to what did we say we were taking first? Garden State, Pam? Or yeah, we say Garden State. Thank you very much. It's the feeble memory at my age, Pam. So we have delays on the Garden State northbound. This is in the area of 149, but there are also issues on the Garden State northbound at exit 129 in Woodbridge. That's all due to volume. You can see here, there are no accidents to report. You can just see the brake checking there on the right side. So once you come around the bend, that's by 149 in the Bloomfield area. That is strictly volume. And that's always kind of volume-y, especially as you make that turn. I know exactly where that is near Route 3. It's a couple of miles shy of Route 3, which is a big interchange. We also have problems now, delays on 287 southbound, exit 5, Stelton Road, Piscataway. Again, just volume. All lanes are open. We go over to I-80. So I-80 westbound from exit 61 to exit 60 right now. That's in the area approaching Patterson. I-80 is just a little bit of a slowdown again. That's a couple of minutes ago. We had more of a slowdown there. This is all good. We don't have any major accidents to report. The Hudson River crossings now, the Holland and Lincoln are both reporting just 20 minutes. The GWB upper and lower has been pretty heavy versus anything else that we're talking about today. You can see right there, the upper on the right, lower level on the left. It's going to cost you about 35, 40 minutes in on the upper level and about 45 minutes in on the lower level. Right now, no major problems to report in Los Angeles either. Just some overnight construction in the typical areas, but it's not causing any major delays. 50 minutes past the hour, and millions of Instagram users woke up to a flood of unexpected password reset emails in recent days, sparking fears of a massive data breach involving 17.5 million accounts. Cybersecurity experts say personal details like emails, phone numbers, even partial addresses are now circulating on the dark web. But Meta insists there is no breach and your account is safe. Well, what really happened, and should users be concerned? Brand and digital strategist Fisher, who can be found on X and Threads with username @Fisher and through his website fisher.media, joins us now with the full story. Good morning to Fisher.
Good morning, Ken.
Well, so what happened? What appears to have happened here? And should every Instagram user treat it as if they have been hacked just to be safe?
The second part, yes, and we'll get to that. Cybersecurity firm Malwarebytes discovered and reported that sensitive information from approximately and only 17.5 million Instagram users was leaked and is now available for sale or free distribution on the dark web. The compromised information includes username, full name, Instagram usernames, full names, email addresses, phone numbers, and parts of your actual address if you have that in your account. The leak appears to be tied to a potential Instagram API exposure from 2024. An API is a connection, kind of a backdoor connection between programs. It's an application programming interface is what API stands for. So it's how Instagram might connect to another application, another app that you might have, or another website, things of that. Now, the data set has over 17 million records in it, and it's on forums and began popping up in the beginning of this month. Many Instagram users worldwide began receiving a large number of unsolicited, legitimate password reset request emails. That's the difference, is that this isn't from linstagram.com. This is from instagram.com. Usually you can spot these fake password reset emails. This actually came from instagram.com. It started about beginning of last week. And of course, a lot of confusion, a lot of security concerns because these folks that received them, myself included, did not request a password reset. Instagram/Meta has stated, "We fixed an issue that let an external party request password reset emails for some people. There was no breach of our systems," that's the important part, "and your Instagram accounts are secure. They advise users to ignore the recent reset emails." Now, the reason why that's the important part is because their system wasn't breached. It was a third party, a connection between them and something else. So again, according to Instagram, this was not a traditional data breach of their core systems, but rather a vulnerability that they fixed that allowed external parties to trigger password reset requests. So they're even denying the exposure of the other data. They're just simply saying, hey, this allowed somebody to ping our system and force a password reset email to go out. So that doesn't seem to be the case according to Malwarebytes. So again, there's some discrepancies. Now, even with the denial and the personal data being supposed leaked, there's a lot of things you can do. You can reset your password, and you should do that immediately. You should just reset your Instagram password, even if you did not receive one of these password reset emails. Go into Instagram, either in-app or on the website, and reset your password there. Do not click an email that you received to reset your password. You should also enable two-factor authentication. I say it on here as if I get paid to endorse two-factor authentication. I do not. It is also not a company, so there is no money exchange for this. And again, you could also, when you receive a password reset email, you can go into your app. You have to dig in through the settings, but you can see the communications from Instagram. And so basically it'll say, yes, we sent you a password reset email. So that is us. So you can check that. Now, obviously, if you are actually resetting your password, you should expect that email. So don't click on emails that you're not expecting in your inbox.
Mm-hmm. idea. You and I for the new year now, we should start a company called Two-Factor Authentication.
Yes,
Let's
that's right.
buy two-factor authentication.com. And so for all the people saying, my IT guy said I should do two-factor authentication. Here's the website. You got it? See if it's available.
There actually is a website called 2fa.directory, and that will actually list a lot of the sites that you may use, whether it's bank, I looked it up, and so I'm looking at it now, whether it's education sites, so .edus, email systems, banking, crowdfunding, cryptocurrencies, entertainment finance. So you can go in, you could click food, and you can see that Starbucks has two-factor authentication, Uber Eats does as well, and then what doesn't. And it actually encourages you to contact those companies to ask them to turn on two-factor authentication. So great website, 2fa.directory, probably making way more money than we would on the website that you suggest we put together.
Fine. I figured I would get one of those little pre-made website thingies and offer two-factor authentication.
Little Wix, little Squarespace. Makes sense.
Don't make fun. You're always a hater that way. And by the way, I took your advice and I've changed my password from admin to 12345.
Perfect.
So,
oh, that's great.
I feel
at least it's
fully
between
safe
us.
now.
Yeah,
of
you're
course.
definitely safe.
I mean, yes. Okay. Is there,
Great
by the
job.
way, in terms of a mix, talk about passwords for a second. How often should one change their passwords on their major accounts? Because if you have like 30 different accounts, that's a lot of changing.
Sure. I would say this. I would say in theory, you should change your password every couple of months, right? Or you should make a reminder to change it once a quarter. If you utilize Apple Passwords, which is built into every iPhone, iPad, Mac, etc., or Samsung Pass, Samsung Wallet, the Samsung Passwords, Google Chrome has its own password storage, you're able then to create a large password, right? So really, you don't want a password that you can remember. You want a like 26-digit password, 26 characters, so a mixture of upper lowercase numbers and characters to make a password. If you do that, and if you have two-factor authentication on, in reality, you're pretty good, because that's a big deal. Now, the second that you hear that something was breached, that's where you really need to change your password immediately.
And if you do that, you are a better man than me. Brand and digital strategist Fisher, who can be found on X and Threads with username @Fisher and through his website, fisher.media. Thank you, sir, for coming on this morning.
Thank you.
58, you bet. 58 minutes past the hour. For those of you watching on LACA on the West Coast, stay tuned for local news. On New Jersey, we'll be right back.
Play it like the New York Sirens. Live in the spotlight. Etch your name in lights. Embrace the noise. And when it calls you, turn it up. Get louder. Play it like they'll hear us everywhere. Because this is our team. New York Sirens. Play it big.
Very good morning to you. It is 8 a.m. Monday, January 12th, 2026. Welcome to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato, taking calls at 888-658-0234. Lots of sunshine, a little breezy today, highs low 40s. We head to meteorologist Mike Favetta with a check of the Garden State forecast.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
All right, Mike. I'm told we're not allowed to talk negatively about the California people, even though this is just on New Jersey now, because they might be able to tune into this channel too.
Well, that's the best part about this channel, Ken. Anyone can tune in. Although you might not like what you hear regarding the weather unless you're an Eskimo or a snowman or a snowwoman, because
Hey, I'm
there's
heading
some
back
really
south.
cold weather. Some really cold weather on the way that comes in by the end of this week. In fact, it feels really cold right now with the air temperatures hovering just around freezing statewide. With that wind chill, it feels oh so much colder. 8 o'clock this morning, wind chill 24 degrees over in Newark. 21 is how it feels in Atlantic City. So the chill is certainly around, and with that, there are some gusty winds to go along with it right now, upwards of 20 miles per hour in Flemington, 21-mile-per-hour breezes there in Atlantic City. That makes it feel icy, anywhere from 12 to 14 degrees cooler. It's 16 degrees cooler than this time yesterday. So a big shift in weather. It feels much colder to start off this week, and even throughout this afternoon across New Jersey, as highs at the clinical locations of Audio Nova climb into the low 40s. Yeah, there'll be a whole lot of sunshine statewide, whether you find yourself up in Ramsey or even down toward Monroe Township or Lawrence Township. Plenty of cold air, which is quite seasonable for this time of year. So with the temperatures today only making it up into the low 40s, again, average, we'll keep the clear sky around tonight, bring back another round of cold weather tomorrow, and with a little bit of a southerly breeze tomorrow, maybe hit the 50s briefly. But that's quickly followed by some rain early Wednesday morning, which gets cold enough with the air that follows to transition to a little bit of light snow later on Thursday morning. So as the wet weather wraps up, you see some cold air works in here in northwestern New Jersey, likely makes for an icy mix, maybe some snow grains on the ground for Thursday morning. And then that all wraps up, but look at the cold that follows. As soon as Thursday evening, we're down in the teens, not a wind chill, an actual air temperature, 20s in the cities, and it gets even colder for early Friday morning. So another round of shockingly cold air on the way after a little bit of a few days of mild weather. Get ready for some rain as soon as Wednesday morning, changing perhaps to some snow on Thursday. We'll talk more about the rest of the week's weather into the weekend, Ken. That's coming up in a few minutes.
We appreciate you, Mike. Thank you very much. And forgive me for looking left, teleprompter issues. So I'm just going to have you get to see profile. Look at that Roman nose.
Oh, look at that.
There you go. Roman Schnazzola as I look to the left here. It'll just be one more second as I click one thing. Boom, boom, boom. All right. I think may have fixed it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
You bet.
This is what happens when we're doing live TV. It is now 8:03, and in terms of temperature, we have a temp of 29 degrees in Trenton. It's 32 degrees northern New Jersey, 29 degrees in Vineland, and 31 in Cape May. In terms of traffic, we go straight to the Hudson River crossings. Lincoln and Holland tunnels both now reporting just 20 minutes. Look at the GWB. This has been a mess all morning long, even since we started with California. Bumper to bumper traffic, upper and lower levels. We are told right now that we have about a 35 to 40 minute delay getting into the upper level, about a 40 to 45 minute delay making your way into the lower level. 8:04 is our time, and former New Jersey Governor Richard Cody has died. His family says the state's longest-serving lawmaker was 79 when he passed early yesterday after a brief illness. Cody was a Democrat, became acting governor when then Governor Jim McGreevey stepped down November of 2004. He served out the last 2 years of McGreevey's term before returning to the state Senate. Cody lived in Roseland many years up until the end. His family will announce funeral plans in the days ahead. Nice man, by the way. Very nice man. As protesters continue threatening to overthrow the government, Iran's president announced that his government would address the economic problems facing the people, urging Iranians to refrain from any destructive actions. The interview came, this was with state media, as deadly clashes were reported in recent days between Iranian police and protesters amid the country's longstanding economic hardships. Meanwhile, could the U.S. be ready to invade Iran? U.S. Air Force planes appeared to be lining up along Iran's western border last night. You see that right there. In Chicago, as people take sides in the shooting death of Minneapolis anti-ICE activist Renee Good, the Chicago police chief has some words for those who don't think ICE agents are legitimate police officers and those protesters who believe they can taunt law enforcement. Please stop what you're doing and listen.
Let me make this clear. Federal agents, ICE, HSI, are officers. They are agents of law enforcement. If you box them in with vehicles, it is reasonable for them to believe that they are being ambushed and that this could end in a deadly situation. And it's reasonable for them to use force based on those conditions. Do not box in any law enforcement officer. You are breaking the law when you do that. And you are putting yourself in danger. Following law enforcement agents around. The question is why? What do you plan on doing? It's also reasonable for them to believe that you're eventually going to do harm to them. If you ram any vehicle, especially that one that contains law enforcement agents, and that's any law enforcement, local, state, federal, county, and you do this intentionally, this is considered deadly force. Deadly force is anything that can cause great bodily harm or death. When you plow into a vehicle that contains law enforcement agents, you're using deadly force. And they can use deadly force in response to stop you.
I mean, that is profound. And so why are elected officials in these large liberal sanctuary cities not reinforcing his message? That is the Chicago police chief, third largest metropolitan area in America, one of the most important police chiefs in America. I'm sure he isn't a conservative, okay? He is an African-American man working for an African-American mayor. Did you hear what he said? If you want to prevent a situation like Minneapolis from happening again, start telling people they are risking their lives and those of the police by following and taunting ICE agents. You got that, Mayor Fry? Little Fry? It is unbelievable. And Mayor Fry is why that woman, Renee Good, is dead today. He has blood in his hands along with his tampon Tim governor of Minnesota. It is 8:08 now, and what a difference 18 years makes. Listen to then Delaware Senator Joe Biden when he was a presidential candidate talking about how bad the idea of sanctuary cities was. Check it out.
Would you allow these cities to ignore the federal law regarding the reporting of illegal immigrants and, in fact, provide sanctuary to these immigrants?
The reason the cities ignore the federal law is the fact that there is no funding at the federal level to provide for the kind of enforcement at the federal level you need. Pick up the New York Times today. There's a city not far across the river from my state that imposed similar sanctions. And what they found out is, as a consequence of that, their city went in the dumps, in the dumpster. Stores started closing. Everything started to happen. And they changed the policy. Part of the problem is you have to have a federal government that can enforce laws. This administration has been fundamentally derelict in not funding any of the requirements that are needed even to enforce the existing law.
So, Senator Biden, yes or no, would you allow the cities to ignore the federal law?
No.
Okay.
So clearly that was before President Biden's brain turned to jello. So how is it that mainstream media never aired that tape and never questioned Biden about it? How is it that Democrats like Chuck Schumer can stand at a podium after having opposed the idea of sanctuary cities for years and pound the podium now in support of them? Can you spell hypocrites? Yeah. By the way, if you were thinking about buying a house, now may be the time. Mortgage rates fell sharply Friday, a day after President Trump said on social media he was instructing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to buy $200 billion in mortgage bonds in order to drive down mortgage rates, and it worked. The rate on a 30-year mortgage dropped 22 basis points to 5.99%, matching the low from February of 2023. Yet everybody seems to doubt Trump. They all doubt him, and everything he does, tariffs, all seem to help our economy. Everything. Maybe we should stop fighting him just once. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, another person who should stop fighting Trump, said yesterday the Justice Department subpoenaed the central bank with the threat of a criminal indictment. It's in relation to his testimony before the Senate about the renovation of Federal Reserve office buildings. White House officials accused Powell of mismanagement, misleading Congress about the renovation of the central bank's headquarters, which has run into massive multi-billion-dollar cost overruns. What cost multi-billions to redo the paint? And that's why he may be indicted. And President Trump is calling for a 10% cap on credit card interest rates for a year, an idea that's drawn strong support from lawmakers, but predictable pushback from card issuers. The president wrote on Truth Social, please be informed, we will no longer let the American public be ripped off by the credit card companies that are charging up to 30% interest rates and even more, which festered unimpeded during the sleepy Joe Biden administration. Trump said the cap on interest rates should begin next week on January 20th. That is the one-year anniversary of his second inauguration. At this point, the president appears to be hoping the pressure will be enough to force the credit card companies to lower rates on their own. But if they do not, there's always the possibility he can issue an executive order. Americans owe a total of $1.23 trillion in credit card balances in the third quarter of last year, the highest level on record. The average U.S. household with credit card debt owes over $10,000. California now officially drought-free for the first time in 25 years, with the U.S. Drought Monitor reporting no part of the state is experiencing excessive dryness following a series of powerful storms late last year that boosted water levels and filled reservoirs. Experts say this exceptional wet period marks a strong start to the new water year, but they're warning residents don't assume water issues are gone for good. Water resource managers stress that demand continues to strain supplies. But here's the deal. You add 2 million illegal migrants you don't take account for, and you don't have a system, and you decide that you're going to defend the Ooga Ooga plant instead of letting people drink water, and you're going to perpetually have a drought issue in California. Coming up at 8:13, you're watching on New Jersey Mornings. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of.
Play it like the New York Sirens. Live in the spotlight. Etch your name in lights. Embrace the noise. And when it calls you, turn it up. Get louder. Play it like they'll hear us everywhere. Because this is our team. New York Sirens. Play it big.
Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. It's 8:15, and we'll take your calls at 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. Lots of sunshine today, but a bit breezy. Highs in the low 40s. Are going to feel chillier than that. Right to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State forecast.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
All right, Mike, I am feeling the chill. I walked outside to put out the garbage this morning, and, let's just say that it's cold.
It's chilly, yes. It is the wind that kind of nips at you, lets you know that, yeah, winter's still here. Well, there's a reinforcing shot of cold air that comes in the next few days that will make today feel like a walk in the park. And if you plan to go for that walk, bring along the hat, the coat, the gloves, the scarf, because it's chilly throughout New Jersey with highs today that make it up into the low 40s, which is quite average. The sunshine may make it feel a bit more tolerable, but there's still some pretty gusty winds around that make it feel rather chilly. Another round of wind comes in late tomorrow night into early Wednesday morning. With that, some light rain throughout the day on Wednesday, and then reinforcing cold air for Thursday. This is with a cold front on Thursday afternoon that drives down the temperature with the wind, making it feel like the single digits with the wind chill for Friday morning. So the sunshine today doing a decent job of making it feel a bit more tolerable. Then we have some clouds off to our north and west. They don't arrive until Wednesday. That's our next weather system that gets going and gives us some wet weather in spotty showers throughout the day on Wednesday. But before that, for tomorrow, we could actually make it into the upper 40s and low 50s across most of the state, although it's a bit breezy. So here's the early morning sprinkles that come in. Most of the rain gets going throughout the daylight hours on Wednesday and lasts throughout the Wednesday night into Thursday. Then there's enough cold air on the back end of this system. You see right there, those shades of blue and pink and purple in the northwestern corner of the state. That happens for Thursday morning, and that could change some of that rain to snow, and then we get a few flakes and flurries on the ground, I think, throughout the afternoon on Thursday. Look what happens Thursday night. Teens. That's without the wind chill. With the wind chill, it'll feel like the single digits. So some cold weather headed into this weekend. Highs struggling just to make it to average, and this is just the beginning of some cold weather that sets up for next week. We'll give you all those details coming up with a check of your 7-day forecast. Ken, it's in our next weather update.
See, I love that. Other stations give you 6 days, but only on New Jersey goes the extra mile for that 7th day. No speaking of any expense, because we are who we are. Am I right, Mike?
I do. I see Laura Jones in the corner, our next guest, doing 6-7-6-7. So, there's that too. There's that too. Thank you, Laura. She's got kids of that age, so she's well into it.
Awesome. All right, Mike. Thank you very much, sir. It is right now 29 degrees in Trenton. It's 34 degrees in northern New Jersey, 32 degrees in Vineland, and 33 down the shore, down at Cape May. In terms of traffic right now, not a whole heck of a lot. It's more volume. The one issue that we could find right now is I-78. Let's take a look at this. And the camera is all kind of schmutzy and in the sun. It's hard to tell, but you can see a little buildup there. That's I-78. Local lanes, we have delays westbound from west of exit 51, Burnett Avenue, Union, to west of exit 49, Route 124, Springfield Ave, and Springfield Township. All lanes are open, but you can just see I think a lot of glare is impacting people too. So that's causing a little bit of a slowdown through there, but nonetheless, it is moving. We have delays on Tenley Avenue 1 and 9 southbound from Secaucus Road in North Bergen to Manhattan Avenue, Jersey City. Again, all lanes are open there. We have a disabled tractor the trailer, though. Doremus Avenue, southbound Port Street, Newark, one right lane blocked. Over to the Hudson River crossings, Lincoln and Holland both reporting only 20 minutes right now into Manhattan. The GWB upper and lower levels, 80-95 approach. Fairly heavy, but moving. You got about 35 minutes in on the upper level and 40 on the lower. It is now 8:19, and it's become a sneaky backdoor trend to skirt New Jersey laws. More single-family homes are being purchased not by individuals, but by LLCs, right? Limited liability companies or corporations, making it harder to enforce housing safety and rental laws because you're not dealing with a private individual owner. Assemblyman Alex Sawicki of New Jersey's 12th legislative district sponsored a bill that would require greater transparency when LLCs purchase residential properties intended for rental use. For more on this, we say good morning to the Assemblyman. How are you, sir?
Hey, good morning, Ken. Good to see you again.
Good to have you on. Well, this is something that transcends party. This is something, right? Whether you're Democrat or Republican, there are rules that we're all supposed to be following. And it's clear that there's the spirit of the law and the actual law. And it feels like they know what the law is and they are skirting it. So when did this start? Did somebody just transfer ownership of a property on paper to an LLC and start skirting state laws? Is this how it all began?
Well, it's a problem that's gotten bigger over time. And to be clear, while this bill is being well received in two of my counties, Ocean and Monmouth, out of the four counties I represent, it's a statewide issue. To give you an idea, back in the early 90s, less than 10% of residential homes were owned by LLCs. That number is now approaching 30%. So to put it in perspective, if you're living in a municipality that has 10,000 homes, as an example, in the 90s, maybe 900 of them were owned by LLCs. Now 3,000 of them are. So it's a big number. That's a size shift.
I know some people in the real estate business, and I heard about this maybe a year ago, where they were talking about people forming LLCs in order to get mortgages. There are certain mortgage companies that will lend to an LLC because it's different credit structure, et cetera, et cetera. And then what people are doing is they invest in a house as an LLC, they fix it up, they borrow against, they buy another house, they try to do flipping, but it's like almost like a house of cards. It feels kind of dangerous. And I've heard whenever I hear something like that, it's always one of the rules of if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Now, your bill A1233 focuses on transparency during the deed recording process. So how would that change the way towns handle these LLC-owned properties?
Well, the biggest issue is that with LLCs, you don't know who to call when the law's broken. So you have municipalities that have laws on the books. Those laws need to be followed. They're seeing blatant disregard for those laws. And when it comes time to try to enforce them, they don't know who to call. So this bill really does nothing more than simply says, hey, we need to know who the individual is that was the registered agent. If the registered agent isn't part of the LLC, they need to append to the deed a name of somebody who is involved in the LLC. And ultimately, they have somebody who can be contacted. Now, you mentioned earlier, this has received bipartisan support. It's not one party versus another. It's completely supported by both parties. And it's recognized as an issue statewide to the point that, it's just common sense that we would have this on the books. So those that are blatantly disregarding the laws, who are the only ones that are going to have a problem with this bill and ultimately this law, need to be held responsible for breaking the law.
Yeah, Assemblyman, just another game that people who use the LLC concept have been playing. I live half in New Jersey and half in Fort Lauderdale. I've never made a secret of that. And I live in a building that is residential only in Fort Lauderdale, not supposed to rent out your unit. Well, a couple of people in the last couple of years bought their units as LLCs. Now, you don't know who's living in the unit, right? So they could be renting it out because, again, an LLC isn't a person, it's an entity. So now they're what we find out is they're renting their unit out as an LLC, and the person is temporarily on the board of the LLC, and they get to use the unit. These are the sneaky ways people are using this and taking advantage, and there's the lack of transparency. So now my building is voting to eliminate any future ownership of, by LLC as a result. But these are these little things that if you're not paying attention it could be snuck in, right? So you have now some LLC owned homes being illegally converted into multifamily rentals. So how does that
Yeah.
impact a community?
Yeah, spot on. And that's one of the biggest issues of all this. And I think a lot of residents don't even recognize the compounding effect of this. You know, the breaking of the law includes renting out a single family home to as many as 4 families. We
Wow.
know for sure that's happening. Now, this becomes a safety as well as a quality of life issue. You know, people that live in a residential development don't expect 4 different families to be living in the house next door to them. Secondarily, those 4 families, first off, it's a safety issue and a fire issue, which has been cited in my own town a few times. But it also impacts the school systems. You know, if those 4 families have children, those children now go to the public school. The public school is only receiving property tax on a single family home, but they're now supporting 4 families' children. And you're seeing this with things like an increase in multi-language learners in every school district in the state. Those are up over 300% in most municipalities. And that's, you know, a compounding effect of breaking the rental laws. And, you know, again, municipalities have laws on the books that says you can't rent out a single family home to 4 different families. You know, it's just a violation of the local laws. And the problem is those municipalities, as much as they may want to enforce that, don't know who to call.
Yeah. I mean, people forget that now each of those families may have 1 or 2 cars. They're going to jam the
Mhm.
streets. The streets
Yep,
are not made for that in these little local residential areas. And people forget little things like electricity and plumbing. You know, if you have a house for 2 or 3 people and they calculate, right, how many flushes in a building. That's how they
that's right.
calculate how many people live in a building. The pipes are a certain size. All of a sudden, you add 50, 60, 70 more people. That's a lot more flushes. I know it sounds like we're kidding, but this is the truth. That's how they calculate it based on the flushes. Now you're really overburdening a system never meant for that number of people. This is where this becomes a very, very big issue. What do you say to those who fear the bill could discourage the responsible investors?
Well, listen, I'll be transparent. I've owned rental property before. It's,
Hmm.
you know, I understand it. I understand the need for it and why people do it. Those that follow the law will have absolutely no issue with this bill. Certainly, as a former owner of rental property, if this bill came up while I was owning property, I certainly wouldn't worry about it because I follow the local laws. So
Right.
as long as you understand what the local laws are and you follow them, and some of them, frankly, are common sense. You know, renting out a single family home to 4 families, you know, you know you're kind of doing the wrong thing there. So let's not kid ourselves. You know, so
Clearly,
if
clearly.
you
I,
know
I didn't
if
mean to
you're
step on.
responsible,
I didn't mean to step on you, Assemblyman. We're out of time. We're up against a break here. Please come back and let us know how this goes. All right. We want to know if it passes. Assemblyman
sure
Alex
thing.
Sawicki of New Jersey's 12th Legislative District. We appreciate you for coming on this morning. Have a great day.
Thanks, Ken. Good seeing you.
You bet. Thank you. And when we come back, we're going to be talking with our Laura Jones about the late Governor Cody. Don't go away.
Play it like the New York Sirens. Live in the spotlight. Etch your name in lights. Embrace the noise. And when it calls you, turn it up. Get louder. Play it like they'll hear us everywhere. Because this is our team. New York Sirens. Play it big.
Very good morning. It is Monday, January 12th, 2026. We have a chilly 28 degrees now at 8:30. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. Mostly sunny, a little breezy today, highs in the low 40s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the detailed Garden State forecast.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
If people knew the behind the scenes in between commercials and stuff, we had Pam, our director, literally giving herself CPR as Mike just disappeared from the shot for a second before I got.
That's okay.
Pam, you have little faith. Little faith. Never doubt meteorologist Mike Favetta's appearance.
We stroll
She
in and
never doubts
stroll
it.
out. It's like a gentle wave, right? Roll in, roll out. Because it's all about the serene, calm scenes. We're trying to find some serenity from this brutal cold that seems to be whipping New Jersey from every direction. This afternoon, we have a little bit of a warm up, but still the low 40s with that harsh wind returning and all the sunshine today kind of makes you think about when it will get warmer. Well, no time soon. In fact, with the average temperature of only 40 degrees, we are running just around average today, but it does get much colder by Friday into this weekend. Lots of clear sky today, a few clouds arriving right now in southern New Jersey, but they ultimately clear out, giving us a nice dry finish to the day. The bigger picture on the future cast showing a little bit of wet weather moving in late tomorrow night, lasting through Wednesday. Some cold rain, some spotty showers that'll last throughout the day Wednesday, maybe ending as some light snow up in northern New Jersey on Thursday morning, clearing out for an even colder start to the day Friday. So it stays chilly this weekend with clouds around, maybe a passing snow shower on Saturday and Saturday night into Sunday morning. This is one to watch because they've kind of been, the computers have been hinting at a little bit more snowfall, but we'll keep it quiet for now. And even going into next week, just more rounds of cold weather. The long range temperature forecast has temperatures this time next week starting off feeling like the single digits, climbing only to what feels like the teens and 20s. So some really cold weather on the way. Enjoy every degree you can this week, especially today and tomorrow while it's dry. Rain returns on Thursday, lasts into Thursday afternoon, maybe mixing with some snow. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the cool down starts and sends our temperatures just a little bit colder each and every day. The shore points start to make up for that with some milder weather by Wednesday, but then again, it turns colder upcoming this weekend, starting Friday into Saturday and Sunday. Highs struggling just to make it above freezing this time next week. So some really chilly weather can timed out perfectly, given that is statistically the coldest time of year, end of January into early February.
There you go. But we will battle that. We will battle that. We're going to take, I have a theory. If we all take our hair dryers and portable heaters and bring them outside and turn them all on at once,
Oh yeah, PSA&G is going to love that strategy.
what could
Great.
possibly
Just
go
watch that
wrong?
meter spin.
All right, Mike. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you as always. It is 29 degrees in Trenton. It's 34 degrees northern New Jersey, 33 degrees now down the shore in Cape May, and it is 30 degrees in Vineland. In terms of traffic, we have delays now on Route 3. Let's take a look at this. Eastbound from west of the Jersey Turnpike, Eastern Spur and Secaucus, or Secaucus, depending on where you're from, to 1 and 9 in North Bergen. All lanes are open. Just a little bit of a slowdown, as you can see right there. We have delays on 287 northbound, south of exit 9, River Road, Piscataway to south of exit 12, Franklin Township. All lanes open there again, a little slow. And then your Hudson River approaches. Holland Tunnel is your best bet right now. It's about 15 to 20 in. Lincoln is 20 to 25. GWB upper and lower level, 8095 approaches. A little heavy all morning long, about 35 minutes in on the upper on the right, about 40 on the lower on the left. Well, former New Jersey Governor Richard Cody has died. His family says the state's longest serving lawmaker was 79 when he passed early yesterday after a brief illness. Cody was a Democrat, though he had lots of friends on the other side of the aisle. He became acting governor when Governor Jim McGreevey stepped down November of 2004. He served out the last 2 years of McGreevey's term and then returned to the state Senate, humble man that he was. Cody lived in Roseland for many years, right until he passed. His family will announce funeral plans in the days ahead. But he is one of those universally loved people in New Jersey politics. And to share her stories about her experiences with the late governor is Laura Jones, host of New Jersey Politics with Laura Jones, seen weekends here on New Jersey. Good morning to you, Laura.
Good morning, Ken. Good to see you.
Good to see you always. Thank you for getting up early for us. Governor Cody, and I always forget because he filled in as the acting governor before we had a lieutenant governor, and he was the president of the Senate. He filled in so many times, right? For like 3 or 4 different times, he filled in for periods of time as acting governor that I forget that he actually served as governor when McGreevey stepped down. He was one of those universally liked characters everybody in media and in politics, whether you were right or left, seemed to get along with just fine. One of those rare people, like the Tip O'Neill of his day. Am I wrong?
You're right. I mean, you don't stay in Trenton for 50 years, the longest serving legislature, without understanding politics, without understanding the dynamics of Trenton, without being able to work across the aisle. And that's the thing as a reporter that you get to witness, you get to see. You see people, leadership in Trenton, you see lawmakers, vigorously arguing for what they believe in, disagreeing vehemently. And then when the session is over, you see them in the halls talking together, relating. And, the thing about Dick Cody is, as much as he was a politician, he really connected with people. And I think that is really so much of his legacy. When I think about the times that I interacted with him, he wasn't just talking to me. He would talk with my crew. He would talk to the people around. He connected with people so much. And that really is kind of what stands out. Well, so many things stand out.
Yeah, he was the longest. I mean, think about that. New Jersey is, we think of it, oh, it's been here forever. It's 250 years old and 20% of the existence of the state of New Jersey. 20%. This man was in state politics. 20%. That's astounding. That's got to be. I mean, we know it's the longest, but I mean, I doubt anyone could ever break that record.
And the other thing, very true, very true. The other thing, when you think about Dick Cody, is New Jersey has changed. We now have an office of lieutenant governor, but you mentioned he had been acting governor. So in New Jersey, just a quick history, up until 2005, it wasn't until Kim Godano, Chris Christie, did we ever have a lieutenant governor. So we only had governor. So if the governor wasn't able to serve, the Senate president took over. So not only did the Senate president you had to continue to be the Senate president in order to be the acting governor. So not only could he propose legislation, he could sign the legislation, then enact the legislation. Extraordinary power. And this, again, is going back to when he was Senate president. And there was a time after Christy Whitman had left to go work for George Bush's administration as EPA director. Then Don DeFrancesco decided he was not going to run. There was a week in between, right? Because tomorrow the legislature changes. The week before the legislature has a new session and the week before a governor sworn in. So there was a 1 week period where you had, and the Senate was split 50-50. So there were two co-Senate presidents, Dick Cody and John Bennett. And so you had 3.5 days of a Cody administration and 3.5 days of a John Bennett administration. So, back and forth throughout the years, he has stepped up as acting governor. One of the things that he did before he left office is signed into law what would make New Jersey have a lieutenant governor. And what he did is he signed it retroactively, so it would also apply to former acting governor Don DeFrancesco, who took over for Christy Whitman when she left 2001 to become administrator of the EPA. And when you would see him out and about, you would say, Senator, Governor, what do we call you? And he would say, was Gerald Ford elected? No. Okay, so do you still call him president? Yes. He's like, Governor. But he didn't do it in a way that was condescending. It was playful. It was kind. It was engaging. He could be fierce, as anybody. But he also was very, very personable, loved to talk basketball, signed a basketball for my son Jack once he knew that he liked to play basketball. Really, really great guy.
I know his neighbors in Roseland. He's just a local Roseland dude, raised his family there. Everybody knows where he lives. Oh yeah, that's Cody's house. Just a
And
nice guy.
he's an undertaker. He was funeral
Yes,
director.
he had a
Funeral
couple
director.
of locations, right? He had
We
a
would
couple
talk
of
about
funeral
that.
homes.
Yeah, So he would talk about that. I mean, and that's the thing. He wasn't always talking about politics. You would be just talking about regular stuff. He's like, I gotta get to a funeral, gotta get to do this, that, the other. And then
Yep.
you just realize, wow, what an extraordinary life.
But that's what politics used to be. It used to be citizen politicians, right? These were years ago, everybody in politics had their own business or job that they would temporarily leave to come serve, and then they'd go back. I mean,
I
things
mean,
have changed.
when he was sworn in as acting governor, when Jim McGreevey resigned, stayed for 14 months in office, he did it at his house. He didn't have a big swearing in. I came to his house to interview him. And if you ask me, what did we talk about? I don't really remember. I mean, I do remember, but I remember him welcoming me into his home. I don't think that would happen now.
Yeah.
Things are so managed through social media. Don't even get me started about, the state house and how it's really locked down and the accessibility. But really, with the passing of Dick Cody and also recently Jim Florio, the access to our lawmakers, it isn't what it used to be. A former colleague of mine passed away, Dan Weissman, Star Ledger, just a
Mhm.
couple weeks ago, and I was talking with other reporters, and it is definitely there's such a shift in Trenton right now, and having those relationships, those conversations that you can have in the halls of Trenton, they don't always happen now. So I certainly cherish those moments. I feel very blessed that I was able to witness history, an extraordinary time of history that he was able to shepherd the state through. I mean, Jim McGreevey resigning, the craziness that happened when Christy Whitman left office, and then Don DeFrancesco decided he wouldn't win, and then we had 6 governors in 7 days, or 5 governors in a few days, just the way that New Jersey's Constitution was written. But then that was changed, and now we have a lieutenant governor.
I'm convinced that when they wrote the Constitution, the men, and it was all men then, had a couple of cups of grog, as they say. "Hey, Tina,
Yeah, a good
I've
person to
got
talk
this
to
in a
about
couple
that.
of days."
Leonard Lance, his father or grandfather was part of that constitutional convention the last time they had rewritten it. So it's, there are little pockets of history and people in New Jersey who just still who know so much. And it's an extraordinary history. And it's a real
I love
privilege
it.
to be able
I
to share it.
love it. All right, Laura Jones, host of New Jersey Politics with Laura Jones, seen weekends here on New Jersey, talking about the late Richard Cody, our former governor. May he rest in peace. Thank you again, Laura, for being here.
Good seeing you, Ken.
You bet. Likewise. And finally, some help for taking care of the senior in your life when we come back. You're watching On New Jersey Mornings for your Monday. Don't go away.
Play it like the New York Sirens. Live in the spotlight. Etch your name in lights. Embrace the noise. And when it calls you, turn it up. Get louder. Play it like they'll hear us everywhere. Because this is our team. New York Sirens. Play it big.
Come back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato, 845, taking calls at 888-658-0234. Sunshine, a little breezy today, making it feel chilly. Highs, low 40s. Right to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State forecast.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
All right, Mike, it's deceptive. It looks like it's going to be milder because of the nice sunshine, and then you step outside and you get that little burst of...
It is. It's like a slap in the face, right? Winter is not playing nicely, and we need to be a little more friendly, especially in through the rest of the month and to the rest of winter. We are not even 1 month into winter. We're just a few weeks into winter. And here we go with another round of cold, which seems like it's never ending across northern New Jersey. The chill lingers throughout Hackensack, Jersey City, and Wayne. High temperatures, low 40s, but it still feels rather chilly, especially with that dry weather today. The drought continues across northwestern New Jersey there, with a severe drought extending even into sections of Morris County as of this morning. All of the state has abnormally dry conditions at the very least, with the worst of the rain deficit up in Sussex County, up to an inch. But this is the cold that doesn't seem to quit, and it continues for the rest of the month, even here in the state with the drier weather expected, at least abnormally dry, into the second and third week of January. The 7-day forecast points to another round of rain coming in tomorrow night, lasting in through Wednesday. The snow that takes over on Thursday morning is brief and might just give us a few flurries, but following that is rounds of bitter cold that send our overnight temperatures. You're just starting to get a sneak peek here. 14 degrees on Monday morning. That's without the wind, and that will allow for a very cold start to next week. So this is like the week of transition, moderating back to the cooler weather by the end of the week with a few chances of rain. The weekend looks okay for now, looks quite and dry, and then down in the teens come early Monday morning. So some real cold weather on the way, Ken. That is just a few days away.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. A few days away, we're counting on. I appreciate you, sir. Thank you. It is 8:47 right now. We'll see you tomorrow, Mike. Temperature-wise, 29 degrees in Trenton, 34 degrees northern New Jersey. It is 31 degrees now in Vineland and 34, yes, it is, down in Cape May. It is 8:47 right now. In terms of traffic, we now have a report of some delays here did it just pop up? It did not pop up. Okay, we thought we'd have it for you, but we don't. We have delays on Route 17 southbound, south of Midland Avenue in Paramus. There's a tractor trailer fire there. The right lane of 3 lanes closed. Again, that is a tractor trailer fire, Route 17 southbound, south of Midland Avenue in Paramus. Some delays on Route 4 eastbound, west of River Road to east of Queen Anne Road in Teaneck. All lanes are open. Hudson River crossings right now. Holland is 15 to 20 minutes in. Lincoln is 20 to 25. GWB upper and lower levels, 80-95 approaches. On the heavy side for this hour of the morning, we're talking 30 minutes on the upper level on the right. It's 35 lower level on the left. It is 8:48. If you have a senior in your family, you know that managing health care can quickly become overwhelming. From medications and insurance to transportation and follow-up care, it often feels like a full-time job for both seniors and the loved ones who are trying to help. Well, joining us this morning are Wayne Morgan, partnership lead, and Connor Sweeney, founder and CEO of BABA. BABA is a Medicare-covered service that supports aging adults and their families in navigating some of the challenges that can impact quality of life. We say good morning, Wayne and Connor. Good to have you on.
Ken, how are you? Thanks for having us.
Thank you. I'm in that
Thank you, Ken.
circumstance. I have an 87-year-old mother and a 95-year-old father, and I'm kind of that guy right now. So what are some of the biggest challenges that aging adults face that younger people simply don't encounter in today's healthcare system?
100%. I mean, you're in that sandwich generation you keep hearing more and more about, right? But it's so broad. You're probably dealing with a lot of multiple medications that need to be taken at the right time, transportation to and from appointments, scheduling those appointments when you're often left on hold, and for a lot of folks, finding even the resources in the community that they can work with, things like Meals on Wheels or local assistance programs.
So now you guys focus on the non-medical factors, right, that affect health outcomes. So talk about some of the day-to-day support that you typically help with. You stay on the phone for people, for instance, and help them out that way?
Not me exactly, but you really wouldn't want me on the phone either way. No, with Baba, that's the name of the company. We actually match older adults and their families with dedicated human, what we call advocates. So usually these folks are nurses or social workers, and they act as an assistant for that individual or that family to help with whatever that family might need. And it's really broad, the things we help with. Wayne comes from the post-acute world. He was in home care and home health for a long time, and he can share a little bit about just how much this moves the needle, especially with someone who might be leaving a hospital.
Yeah, so let's hit that then. Wayne, you work with individuals both
Yeah.
before and after major medical events, right? So if a senior is going in for hip surgery or something, so you would help plan everything before and after for the families. Is that how that happens?
Yeah, correct. So, if we want to talk a little bit before and we want to use hip surgery, for example, what we would do first is talk about the home environment, make sure it's safe, go through insurance, navigate the insurance, see what we call like durable medical equipment is available or accessible to provide a safer environment, such as grab bars, transfer benches for showering. And then on top of that, working with the doctor, the physician's office in terms of who's performing the surgery, to working with the hospital, the discharge planners, and then physical therapists, occupational therapists. If a senior or an aging adult needed what we call like short-term rehab, working with those short-term rehabs to ensure it's a smooth transition from hospital to a rehab. Again, providing maybe additional support through a certified home health aide, private nursing. So a lot of care coordination on the front end to ensure a home environment or a home type setting is safe, to what I call creating a multidisciplinary team with all the home care and healthcare providers, and then monitoring one's progress as they're getting stronger post-surgery. And then when they return home, it's smooth. Everything's there waiting for them. The family feels supported. The seniors feel supported. But most importantly, the children or the senior or the spouse of the senior don't feel or have to feel like a caregiver, where they should really just focus on being a spouse, a daughter, or a son. And us as the experts just guide them through that process. And over time, the senior can gain strength and continue to live an independent life.
Wayne, I'm glad you pointed that out because in so many cases, the spouse is the caregiver. It's not always the child. I help, for instance, my 95-year-old dad, but my 88-year-old mother, and we forget because she has so much energy, we forget she is
Yeah.
87 years old. She does most of it. Now there's a
Yeah.
live-in who comes in. We have people around the clock. My dad was a veteran, so fortunately
Sure.
the VA helps him. If you're not a veteran, you don't get any of that unless you have Medicare or Medicaid or whatever, depending on how you set up your accounts. So caregivers often feel stretched thin, especially the spouses. So the fact that you guys are there to support family members and caregivers throughout the process, you are literally like angels on earth because it could seem so daunting and you feel so lost and don't know where to turn and get answers.
100%.
Yeah, no,
And
I appreciate
think-
that. Thank you.
Yeah, and Ken, to your point, the reason I actually started this was and named it Baba, which is what I call my grandfather, was because my grandparents, also in their 80s, my grandmother had a stroke, and that left her unable to speak. And I just saw my grandfather fill that role every day, doing all this care coordination for something that he knew nothing about. Right, he was out there Googling what aphasia was and what stroke recovery entailed, and that's in such an important moment. You don't want to be learning on the fly. You want to lean on something like Baba that you might be talking to someone who's an expert and has done this for 50 years as a nurse or as a social worker or as a nurse practitioner.
Yeah, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And each state has its own rules and laws and people you need to call. And it's just, I mean, my brother and I are trying, there's just the two of us. We've been trying to navigate the system and we keep learning things as we go along. And we're both, college graduates and younger and whatever, and trying to figure it out. I do not know how somebody in their 80s who doesn't have that would otherwise be able to navigate the system without somebody like you, like Baba, helping them through the process to hold their hand, because it is overwhelming and daunting.
Definitely. And I think that's why, this problem is well known. And that's why we've been able to get relationships with Medicare, with Medicare Advantage plans, even Medicaid in certain states, but and not New Jersey. But and so that's why it's been able to be at no cost or very low cost to all of our families. The vast majority, like 95 plus of folks in New Jersey that have worked with Baba, pay not a single dollar out of pocket. And that's because of those relationships, and those, Medicare sees that this is actually improving outcomes for these families.
It's amazing. So now, like, for instance, somebody's mother, for instance, just found out that they have to go in for surgery, or they just broke a pelvis or something like that. And I mean, it sounds like I'm just throwing it out there. It happens because older people lose their balance and their bones are more brittle, and all they need to do is just wobble 1 second. And that's usually what gets them, right? They break a hip, they break a pelvis, they break a shoulder. Happens all the time. In fact, those two things just happened to my parents in the last year. Mom fell off a doctor's table, broke her pelvis. Dad fell in the house, broke her shoulder. This is what happens. To navigate through the system is nightmarish, and the fact that you are there and that you are Medicare covered to help people at a time when these are seniors with fixed incomes. They don't have usually spare cash around, is an amazing thing. What was it like for you to talk to the folks at Medicare and make them understand that you are a needed service to help them navigate?
100%. I mean, you hear so many stories that you almost know intuitively that this is the type of thing that is going to make less people end up back at the emergency room. But, our team is a lot of scientists and engineers by trade. So we want to prove all of our outcomes. We're doing a clinical study with Johns Hopkins University down in Baltimore to show that, two different ways. One, that we're improving the health outcomes, but also that we're making less claims on the system. We're saving the system money, which I think is the goal of any one of these types of programs.
I love it. And what is a website for more information so people can reach out to you?
Definitely. If you just go to www.callbaba.com, like you're calling Baba on the phone, or you could do exactly that by just calling 917-268-5260.
Here we go. And a lot of older people need that. They'll do the phone. So, and that's a good thing you have that as well. Wayne Morgan, partnership lead, and Connor Sweeney, founder and CEO of Baba. Great service. Thanks for coming up with it. And thank you for helping so many families. You're really needed. Have a great day. You bet.
Thank you.
It is now 29 degrees at 8:58. Meteorologist Mike Favetta says mostly sunny, a little breezy and chilly today. Highs low 40s. That's on New Jersey mornings for your Monday, January 12th, 2026. I'm Ken Rosato, and we'll be back again tomorrow with Mornings with Ken Rosato, seen coast to coast right here at ONNJ.com. Have a great day.